Good morning, students. Today we are going to learn about generations of computer. In this video, we are going to learn about first and second generation of computer, and in the next class we will go through the remaining generations. So computers were not invented in a single day. As we all know that computers were not invented in a single day. It took a lot of time to make the modern day computers. They have evolved through several years and many generations. Computers are generally classified into different generations based on the technological advancements. So based on the changes or the technological advancements that have been made in the computer, computers are classified into various generations. First generation computer, so it was between 1940 to 1958. Some of the characteristic features of the first generation computers were they used vacuum tubes, as you can see in this figure. So these are the vacuum tubes. So you can see in this figure the vacuum tubes. So they used vacuum tubes. They were very large in size and input was based on punch cards and paper tape. So input was given through punch card and paper tape, not through keyboard and all those things, that mouse that we are using today. Some of the examples of first generation computers are as follows. It is Mark 1. So Mark 1, as you can see here, this is the figure of Mark 1 and you can see the size is very large. Mark 1 was designed by Howard H. Aiken in the year 1944. It was about 15 meters long and the wires connecting the various parts of the machine were about 800 kilometers long. So you can imagine the length of the wires. The machine was slow and took 3 to 5 seconds per calculation. So for one calculation, the machine took at least 3 to 5 seconds. But it was the first fully automatic calculator ever. The first fully automatic calculator is Mark 1. Then came ENIAC. ENIAC stands for Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. So the full form of ENIAC is Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. You can see the figure here and you can also see how large it is. The ENIAC was developed by John Prosper Eckert and John W. Mauchly in the year 1946. It was the first fully electronic digital computer. It consisted of 18,000 vacuum tubes, occupied an area of 63 square meters and weighed more than 27,000 kilograms. So you can imagine the size. The size was more than 27,000 kilograms. Whereas Mark 1 took about 5 seconds for adding two numbers, the ENIAC could do it in 200 microseconds. So it was much faster than Mark 1. It was originally built to help the army in launching bombs and missiles more accurately. It did not have stored programs, so programs were not stored here. And it had to be programmed to be manually wiring the code for each task. So for each task, you have to wire the code. You have to set the wires. So this was ENIAC. After ENIAC came EDSAC. It stands for Electronic Delay Storage Automation Calculator. The EDSAC was designed by Professor M. Wilkes of Cambridge University, England in the year 1949. So EDSAC was designed in the Cambridge University of England and it was designed by Professor M. Wilkes and was slightly faster than ENIAC. It weighed approximately 6,000 kilograms and occupied an area of 20 square meters. It was the first electronic computers that used to stored programs. So first time programs were stored in this EDSAC. After EDSAC came EDVAC. EDVAC stands for Electronic Discrete Variable Automatic Computer. So the full form of EDVAC is Electronic Discrete Variable Automatic Computer. The EDVAC was proposed by John Prosper Eckert and John W. Mauchly in 1944, even the ENIAC was being developed. Even as the ENIAC was being developed, so HVAC and ENIAC, they were being developed simultaneously. Let me change this. So HVAC and ENIAC, both of them were being developed simultaneously. John von Neumann, who also gave the concept of stored programs, joined them later to help in designing HVAC. So John von Neumann joined this team of John Prosper Eckert and John W. Mauchly later for designing this HVAC. It was completed in 1948, so you can imagine it took 4 years, 4 long years to complete. The HVAC weighed approximately 8,000 kilograms and covered an area of 45.5 square meters. So the area of HVAC was huge. It had the capacity to hold stored program as well as data. So HVAC had the capacity to hold both stored programs and data. Then came UNIVAC. UNIVAC was developed in the year 1951 again by John Prosper Eckert and John W. Mauchly. So this part is not very clear. So it will be John W. Mauchly. It weighed approximately 13,000 kilogram and occupied an area of, so it will be an area of 35.5 square meters. It was first commercially available electronic computer and also the first computer to handle both numeric and text data. So the first computer to handle both numeric and text data was UNIVAC 1. And UNIVAC 1, the full form of UNIVAC 1 is Universal Automatic Computer. The limitations of first generation computer, the major limitations of the first generation computer were as follows. Their operating speed was quite slow, so they were much slower than today's computers. Their power consumption was very high. They needed a very large amount of electricity. They required large space for installation. Their potential to be programmed for tasks was quite limited. So by using this first generation computers, we could do a limited task. They could solve only one problem at a time. So we can't solve more than one problem at a time using this first generation computers. They were hugely expensive to build. You can imagine the weight and then you can imagine the cost. So they were highly expensive. Then came the second generation computers. Some of the characteristics of the second generation computers were they were faster and smaller in size than the first generation computers. So second generation computers were much faster and much smaller than first generation computers. They were more reliable than first generation computers. They had many components, printer, memory, disk, storage, operating system, etc., which are associated with modern day computers. Transistors were used as their main component. So in first generation computer, we used vacuum tubes. Here we used transistors. So these transistors were used as the main component, which replaced the vacuum tubes used in the first generation computer. They were easier to program than the first generation computers, so they had greater commercial use. The programming languages such as COBOL and Fortran came into use during this time. So these two programming languages, COBOL and Fortran, became very popular. IBM 1401 and RCA 501 are the examples of second generation computers.